Entitled parent ignores her kid at a print shop. Kid loses finger. I worked for a research facility which funds clinics handling patients for our area of expertise. To celebrate our first completely funded sites, we decided to create t-shirts to commemorate our success. I was tasked to design the tees and have them printed and produced for our next conference. I secured a local printer to produce the shirts, and when they were completed, I went to the printers to pick them up. When I got there and produced my invoice, they needed to prepare and wrap them, which would take a few minutes, and I can wait in the lobby. While waiting, a woman, entitled parent, and her son, around 5 years old, came in for her order for a family reunion. She barely paid attention to the staff, and when told to wait, she got on her phone, pretty much ignoring her son, who was running all around the lobby, screaming to the top of his lungs. He then decided to run behind the counter, towards to the back, where the printing machines were. The counter clerk tried to get the woman's attention, but she just ignored the clerk and continued talking on her phone. There was a loud, high-pitched scream and crying, and then there was a loud commotion, and it appeared everyone was screaming, except the entitled parent who was still on her phone, oblivious to the chaos coming from the back. That's when another staff member came out carrying the crying kid and holding a bloody towel around his hand and screaming to the receptionist to call 911. Only then did the entitled parent turn around to see her son and then screamed at the staff member, "What did you do to my son?" The staff stated that somehow the kid got to the back, ran up to one of the working machines, and stuck his hand in between the hot blades, and it sliced off one of his fingers. The entitled parent started screaming at the staff and clerk, berating them and threatening to sue them, while still ignoring her son, still in the staff member's arms, who was trying to stop the bleeding. That was when I, a nurse, came up and assessed the situation and got something to slow down the bleeding and to try to save the mostly severed finger. As the ambulance pulled up, the entitled parent was actually still on the phone, telling whomever she was talking to what had happened to her son, and she still hadn't checked or even touched her son. The staff transferred the boy to the EMTs, and they put him in the ambulance and took him to the hospital. The a-hole of an entitled parent actually waited and demanded her package before she even attempted to follow the ambulance to the hospital. A month later, when I went back to the printers for another order of teas, I had to ask if they ever heard what happened to the little boy. He did lose his finger, and the entitled mother was charged with neglect due to testimony by the staff of the shop. I didn't find out much more than that, but I do hope that the entitled parent did not regain custody of that poor kid. That child, just like her phone, was another accessory. We must remember to love people and use things rather than love things and use people. Fulton Sheen. That's way more than the word neglect can encompass. The witch still played on her phone while the ambulance her son was in drove away? Holy crap! I'm with you, OP. I hope that woman lost custody of that poor child and any others she may have had. Poor little dude. One night at a church supper, one of the little kids, a favorite of everyone in the church, was running around with the rest of the small ones. The hall was crowded and noisy, so when his poor wee hand got caught in the hinges of the kitchen door, nobody could hear his cries over the chatter. I happened to take my empty plate to the pass counter and saw him standing there with tears just rolling down his little face and his little paw firmly pinched in the hinge. I quickly got his hand free and sent one of the older kids to find his parents, while I got him some ice and a popsicle, and he was taken to the children's hospital. No broken bones, thankfully, but he had some ugly bruises. It was nobody's fault. All the littles were playing around while the adults chatted. Just a freak accident of bad timing. I tell you though, after that, we always check the door for small fingers before we close it. What did he do to my son? Well, nothing. The kid isn't your son. He's an accessory to you. If he was your son, you'd give a crap. What you mean to say is, how could you do this to my accessory? Man, I know the child-free sub can get a bit hateful towards parents, but this parent definitely deserves hate from everyone. A lot of people out there like to say that it's different when it's yours, and no, it is not. If you're a crappy person before having a kid, you'll be a crappy person afterwards. This person should not have had or been allowed to keep a kid. Poor guy's whole life is now changed because of his parent. Print shops are notorious for having at least 9 or 10 different ways to lose a finger or two, or get hands or limbs mangled. In fact, that's one of the ways I can spot a long-time press worker: the absence of 1 or 2 fingers or fingertips. I was one of the last generation of graphic artists, trained old school, learned to operate things like offset presses, guillotine cutters, etc. Well, X-Acto blades can slice and dice you if you aren't paying attention. The thought of a little child running wild through a busy press room makes my blood run cold. Yeah, that's one example of a lousy parent. Even if, let's say, the kid came out of the print shop unscathed, he would have gotten hurt somewhere else, the way his mom was acting. I also hope that she wasn't given custody of the child. Have any of you had encounters of parents like the one we just talked about? If you do, please share your comments down below. And as always, thanks for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye!